using my blue paper towels because I really like the way they absorb. I'm just going to put another paper towel here, even though I'm going to put a paper above it. This is my polymer powder. I'm going to put that out. I think you guys have a big white jar that's about this big. This is my monomer liquid. I'm going to put that right here. These are my 2 dapping dishes. I don't know if you guys have glass dapping dishes or if you have, if your dapping dishes are glass or if they're plastic. This here is my brush, my nail brush. I think it's similar to the one you guys have. This is a round sable. So I like usually either like this, I like this brush, or like I like to use a square brush. That's up to you, whichever brush you pick. I'm going to put that brush right here. This is the dropper that's going to help me get the monomer out of here to put it safely in here. I have this sheet that I created, or that I sent you guys with the dots, but I understand everybody didn't have a printer. So I created some circles, and if you want to make smaller circles, you can trace the bottom of your nail brush. It has a circle on the bottom. I don't care what size the circles are, but you can do something like this. Let me see if I can get this on camera. Just to create, I don't know if you could see that, but you know, make a circle around this. And then the other thing I did, well, it's not easy to do with my, anyway, that's what you can do to make your circles. And then you can trace, you can actually literally trace a nail tip. Trace a nail tip or trace one of these on your paper. I think yesterday I asked for 25 of each. So somehow I would like to see, I'm changing that to 20. I'm going to ask you to do 20 circles and 20 nail shapes. Does everybody understand what I'm asking from you when I ask for that? Whether you have to trace them and create them, or you have the sheets I sent you. I'm going to ask you to do 20 of the circles and 20 of the nail sheets. So either you're going to trace them or you're going to do them like that. So is everybody, any questions about that? I'm here for that. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sheet that I'm going to work with. I'm going to put it down there. And remember, you have to find some plastic. So again, if you're going to have to open up your like a Ziploc bag, these are baggies that we cut on the sides and open them because we're going to be working on top of this. You place that on your sheet because you don't want to work directly on the paper because it'll just get wet and the bead will collapse. It won't hold up. So it's kind of like we're color tracing here. Any questions about that? So I have the plastic down. And then I really like, if for anything, just look at this sheet to, even if you pull up Canvas while you're doing this, if you couldn't print it, I like the way it talks about, I like everything that it says. It says, dip your brush into the monomer and wipe off excess. Pick up the bead of acrylic and let it polymerize. So that's when the monomer and the polymer meet. Miss Martinez, did I ask you to start videoing already?
I already started.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just had like a collapse in my brain for a second. Then you're going to place the bead of acrylic onto the nail. In my case, I'm going to place it on one of my circles because we're just practicing shaping and getting ready because this process is a lot to start. And then once you place it, you really wipe that brush on these blue towels. If you don't have blue towels, that's okay. It's not required to have them, but if you get them, this is why we use them, and you will need them for NIC. For the state board nail, we got this tip from state board. And then it says pat the nail, which we're gonna do today as well. So also always have your trash nearby. My trash, you can't really see it, but it's right here. And so what I want to show you, we have to do these steps safely, right? Because we learn, did anybody learn in Miss Madrano's class? Everything's so small here. That when you're going to be putting any liquid or any items into another area that you do it over the trash. Would anybody agree with me or not agree with me that they learned that? Did you learn to do that? No, yes? Anybody?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right, so that's something that state board, if you're going to take liquid and put it into another, like a dish to use, you want to do something like this over your trash because it's client safety, right? So I'm going to open my liquid. I'm going to use my dropper, which you guys all got. I don't need that much for this today, for my demo. I'm going to pour this in over my trash to be safe. Client protection, you don't want to get your whole SMA wet. I might need this again, so I'm just going to wipe it off with a torn paper towel or one of my paper towels. And I can, once I wipe it off, I can place it back down on my SMA and then throw this in the trash. You want to put the lid back on your monomer. And then the next thing is you're going to open up your polymer.
Does this monomer, like if you drop it in the trash bin, does it stick to the trash bin? Like is it
No,
like,
it's just, it's very liquidy.
with like water?
Not yet.
Okay, till it gets into polymer, it doesn't do any reaction. Like we can easily clean the trash bin?
Not with this. Yeah, the trash bin, yes. It's only if it mixed together. And I'm going to show you how we dispose of this stuff properly for state board.
Okay.
Okay. So then I'm going to get my other dapping dish. I'm going to take my polymer powder. I'm just going to put a little bit of it in here. I don't need a lot for today. Put that down. Make sure you put your lids back on everything. We're going to be reminding you of that. And so that's good. So now I have my monomer and my polymer ready. Don't forget, I have my plastic ready to go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to open up my my brush. Has this little end on here. I don't think I've used this brush before. I want you guys to be able to see my
Miss Alita,
yes.
you said we can choose which brush we want to use.
Yeah, you can use, this is like a pointier tip one. You can choose a flat tip. I mean, it's like a squared looking brush. And normally I like those, I prefer those, but I couldn't find one.
Okay.
But I think this one is similar to one of yours. I would use either, get used to using either today. The key is really going to be to really try not to, it takes a lot to really keep these brushes clean. Let me tell you. So you're going to do a lot of wiping. Okay. So I've got my plastic over my circles and I'm going to do everything this paper tells me. So again, even if you can't print it, open up your canvas and have this page on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dip in my liquid, my monomer liquid. And I'm not one, that lady kind of dipped her whole brush. I'm not one to dip the whole brush. So I just want you to notice that I'm just dipping the tip. It's hard to tell, but I only dipped about halfway up the tip. I'm gonna come back over here and it says wipe off excess monomer. Oh, well, this one's a little stiff, so that's good. I'm glad I went in there. So I just got to prepare my brush a little bit. It was a little stiff, so I must have used this. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in, dip halfway, not all the way, wipe off the excess on your paper towel, and you're going to come in and create your bead. So some people just bring the bead towards them. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm moving this towards me. And I'm creating my bead. And my bead looks like the way I like it to look. You're going to come over to your circle and you get your bead off of your brush. And then you're going to come and you really want to wipe that brush right now. Okay. And then you would come back to your bead and you can pat it. Now, that is clearly not a big enough brush for the size circle that I have. You can pat it, wipe. I'm going to dip, wipe the excess, and I'm going to get more. I'm pulling this towards me. I'm going to try to get a bigger bead. I'm going to need a bigger boat. I'm going to get a bigger bead. Come over here, drop your bead in your circle. Now that's a drier bead, so it's not wanting to come off my brush too easy. Great, now it did. Okay, I'm going to wipe. You want to wipe the excess. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Come back in here. Maybe dip and come back and pat your bead down together. We're trying to create a nice fill in that circle, and you can see the spots. It looks kind of looks like that right now. So I'm going to have to put, it's telling me just by the way it looks, I need to put some more on this side and more on this side to fill my circle in right. This happens to be pink acrylic, go figure. I have no idea why I have that. So that was a fun surprise. Okay, so dip, wipe the excess. I want you guys to see, I put my brush just in the tip. You don't put your brush all the way in the powder. I'm pulling the bead towards me, picking up a bead. I'm going to come over here. I'm trying to fill in that little circle. Wipe off the excess. That's so important. Now I went out of the lines, so I'm just going to use the side of my brush to get in the lines. Pat, pat, pat to make a nice circle. It looks like I need a little bit in this corner and I need a little bit more on this side, but it's coming along. I want to get my brush in here clean. Get all that, make sure there's no acrylic that gets in that brush like that. Okay, so come over, just dip the tip, wipe off the excess, come into your acrylic, bring it towards you. Had a little corner that I needed to fill over here. Wipe off that excess before you worry about coming over to pat. Now, some of this like went off into the other, came off the, out of my circle. So I'm going to bring it in, move it in. Pat, pat, pat. Pat, pat, pat. Wipe that brush. And so if it's, okay, can somebody tell me, what do you think? If my bead spread out everywhere, what would you think is what would you think is going on? If my bead spread out and it didn't stay in the circle, can somebody tell me what they would think is what's going on?
Too much
Say that again.
monomer.
Too much monomer. So good. My ratio's off, right? That means I've got too much monomer and not enough polymer. So that's ratio. So this is why we practice these beads. So I made a nice circle. You want it to have some height to it, not to be too flat. And this is what we're practicing. Okay, so I'm going to go on to my next one. I'm going to do a little smaller. You can see how much I'm wiping this off. Okay, so I'm going to come in Remember, again, I'm not dumping my whole brush in this liquid. Okay, I'm just doing the tip of it. And then I come over here and I just get excess off so it's not too liquidy. And then when I say come to me, pull it to just drag it to you to pick up your bead. So I'm starting at one end and I'm dragging it to me to pick up my bead. Not quite a bead yet. I'm going in again. Not quite a bead yet. I'm gonna go in one more time, couple more times. Okay, I'm creating more of a bead. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna do a little smaller one now, because that's a smaller bead. Get it off your brush, wipe off the excess, come and pat, 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 pat. Get in your circle lines. Pat, pat, pat. I just need a little bit more on this side. Wipe off the excess. I can't emphasize that enough. Dip. You guys are going to start to figure out what ratio works for you. That was a little bit of a dry bead, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to get a little bit more of a wet bead. Okay, I'm going to come in here on the other side of my little circles, a tinier circle that I'm working with. Wipe off the excess. And then pat, pat, pat. This one's spreading out a little bit. I don't want it to spread too much, so I'm using the sides of my brush to keep it in my circle while it's drying. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Okay, I'm just going to continue to keep this form. Make sure it stays in your circle while you're drying. So that one only took me 2 beads. Why? Because it was a smaller circle. Wipe that brush, wipe that brush. Can you guys see the circles at all, or? Let me see. I don't know if that helps at all. Okay, any questions so far? Yes?
When we're
No?
placing the beads, you don't want us to drag it at any point, right? We're just shaping, patting.
Can you
down.
say that again for me?
When we're placing the beads down, you don't want us to drag it. You just want us to pat it down.
No, I want you to place it. I want you to come over and wipe your brush. And then it's no drag, it's pat, pat, pat.
Okay, thank you.
And then shape. So then when you're shaping, you'll be on the sides, right? And trying to keep it using the side of your brush, trying to keep the bead in the circle. Did that lady use the word drag?
No, I just saw her like when she was shaping it, she was like moving it.
Yeah, I don't want you to do that. Today, I just want you to place, wipe, pat, and then move like with the sides of your brush to stay in your circle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good, great question. And then I'm gonna do one of these nails. Take my little circles up. I'll do, get your plastic. And so this is the whole point of the exercise, right? You've got to really shape that nail. Now, so I'm going to do this kind of like how we'll be doing it. When we're going to actually be doing the acrylic nail, we're going to be extending the nail. So you're going to extend. So this is the end of your nail tip right here, let's say. You're going to extend your acrylic nail past. I don't want you to do that today. Today, we're just going to practice staying in the lines, but we're going to put it on this whole acrylic nail area. So I'm going to come in. I want you to start towards the tip because that's how we're going to start doing the acrylic nails. So when I'm talking about like dragging or creating your beads, I'm talking about that when I'm in the polymer. And so that's like a nice little bead there. I'm just gonna come here and I'm gonna take it off, let it come off. I'm gonna wipe, wipe, wipe. And then I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna pat that down to fill out across the nail there. And I wanted to get it to stay in. I see what she was doing. So you could do that on this, where if you move, well, if you can move the acrylic by patting it. So if I want to pat it downward to go towards the, let's say the cuticle area, I could do that. But right now, I'm just trying to keep it in my lines. Remember, wipe, wipe, wipe. You can't wipe enough. Dip your brush, wipe the excess. Pick up your bead. You can do circles. You can pick them up like I'm picking it up. I think that time my brush was very dry and it said, no, you got too much off. So I'm going to come in here. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my I'm saying excess. Sorry. Drag. I want to create a nice bead. That's a nice bead, pretty big, because I want to fill in this bottom part. Place it right there. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Keep it in the lines. Pat. Pat the sides. Try to keep them in the lines. And yeah, you can, I see what you're saying. You can brush if you want to cover that line right there. A little bit. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Pat in the sides. I want to keep it in the lines. That was better. Now, if we don't want this to be so flat, we can try to put another bead right here to make it like arch. We can, this is a good time to practice the arch. So I'm going to come in, get my liquid, get the excess. I'm saying access. Wow, sorry. Help me with that, people. I don't know why I'm saying access. Excess. This is a drier bead because I'm just going to place it on top. I'm just trying to build this to be a little bit more of an arch. I'm going to come back, wipe off, wipe off, wipe off. I'm going to dip this back in here, make sure I got all my acrylic off. And then I'm going to come in and pat. And yeah, if you feel like you need to move the shape, you can brush it downward. That's okay. A little bit like that. Create a better shape. Try to stay in your lines the best you can. So this is the best way to really get affiliated or acquainted with the monomer and polymer. Okay, so wipe your brush. Again, these brushes, you're really going to have to work on, you don't want to get them all frayed out, meaning like crazy, like where they look like this. So I try to keep my brush pretty nice, like dip it in and then wipe, wipe, wipe. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. Do I have any questions about this? So when you're talking about picking up your beads, again, you could see that if I did not have enough liquid, I didn't pick up very good beads. And then some people, I've seen some people when they pick up their bead, so I'm going to just get some excess off. Some people do circles. There's nothing wrong with that. That does make a nice bead, okay? So you could do that. Place it down, pat, pat. So also too, when you pat, you kind of push it in the direction that you want. Does that make sense? So I want this to go down more towards the tip. So I'm just going to pat it my way. And then, okay, so then the other way to make the bead, you could do the circles, nothing wrong with that. Some people like that. Or you can do where you like drag it and create your beads this way. Either way, drop it off the brush, get the excess off. I cannot emphasize, please don't worry about once you place the bead, please don't worry about what's going to happen there. Really go wipe your brush because, and then look at your, use the sides of your brush when it's going out of the lines to keep it in the lines. And that one came out nice. Okay. And then I'm going to move that aside. This is going to be on your drill, and I'll show it to you again when we do our demo on our nail enhancement. The proper way, and this is also state board, to dispose of monomer and polymer is you get your paper towel. I'm going to use my blue paper towel because it's very absorbent. You're going to pour your polymer powder and you pour your monomer on top of it. So that absorbs. And then you put it together and it goes in your garbage. That's always. And then you can wipe out your dapping dishes with another paper towel. Are there any questions about that? So for this assignment, when you finish your, you can stop recording, Ms. Martinez. Thank you.